The average American saves just 4.4% of their income, not 4.4% of what they spend on luxuries. 4.4% of everything they earn. That means for every $100 coming in, $96 is gone. And people wonder why they can't build wealth. Here is what nobody tells you about that number. It is not because people are irresponsible or lazy. It is because nobody ever showed them the specific habits that quietly separate people who build wealth from people who just earn money and watch it disappear. Those habits are not complicated. They are not sexy. They will never go viral on social media. But they work every single time for anyone who actually sticks with them. These are the 7 minimalist money habits that will quietly make you rich. Habit 1. Automate your savings before your brain gets involved. Only 38% of Americans automate their savings contributions. Everyone else saves whatever is left over at the end of the month. And here is the problem with that. There is never anything left over at the end of the month. The month always finds a way to consume whatever you didn't protect first. Automation removes the decision entirely. You don't rely on willpower. You don't have to remember. You don't have to feel motivated. The money moves on payday before you ever see it, and before your brain starts finding reasons you need it for something else. Even starting with 5% automated and invisible does more for your long-term wealth than manually trying to save 20% whenever you remember. The habit beats the intention every single time. Habit 2. Stop upgrading things that still work. Americans spent nearly 26% more on electronics in 2025 compared to the year before, not because their devices stopped working, because newer ones came out. This is one of the most effective wealth destruction habits in modern life, and it is completely normalized. A phone that makes calls, runs apps, and takes decent photos does not need replacing because a newer model exists. A car that reliably gets you from one place to another does not need upgrading because a newer year model dropped. A television that displays a clear picture does not need replacing because the new one has slightly better contrast. The moment something stops being exciting is not the same as the moment it stops being functional. The upgrade industry has spent billions training you to confuse those two things. Minimalists don't fall for it. They use things until they genuinely fail. That single habit over a decade is worth tens of thousands of dollars. Habit 3. Apply the 24-hour rule to every non-essential purchase. In the first quarter of 2025, 36% of consumers made an impulse purchase of $250 or more. The average impulse spend was almost $500. These are not small numbers, and almost none of these purchases were things people actually needed. The 24-hour rule is brutally simple. See something you want to buy that isn't essential. Wait 24 hours before buying it. That is it. Research consistently shows that the majority of purchase desires fade completely within a day, when you don't act on them immediately. The craving was real in the moment. The product had no actual value in your life. The waiting period reveals that truth before your money is already gone. People who apply this consistently report eliminating the majority of their impulse spending without feeling deprived of anything they actually wanted. Habit 4. Track your actual net worth every single month. 58% of Americans say they know their net worth. But when asked to write down the actual number, most people are significantly off. They count their savings and forget their debt. They count their car value and forget their car loan. They feel richer on paper than they actually are in reality. Tracking your real net worth monthly, assets minus liabilities, does something powerful. It makes the invisible visible. You stop being able to pretend things are fine when they aren't. You start noticing which months your net worth grew and which months it shrank. And you start making decisions that protect the growth instead of unconsciously undoing it. The people who check their net worth monthly build wealth faster than the people who check their account balance and assume that means they're fine. One number tells you where you are, the other tells you where you're going. Habit 5. Cut the subscriptions you forgot you have. Subscription spending crept up again in 2025 across every tracked category: streaming, fitness apps, software, delivery memberships, box services. Most people significantly underestimate how much they spend on recurring monthly charges because the individual amounts are small enough to ignore. $12 here, $8 there, $15 for something you used once 6 months ago. Go through your bank statement right now and highlight every recurring charge. Most people find between $80 and $200 per month in subscriptions they either forgot about or no longer use meaningfully. That is between $960 and $2,400 per year, leaving your account silently with zero impact on your quality of life. Minimalists audit this quarterly, not once, quarterly, because subscriptions have a way of quietly multiplying back even after you've cut them. Habit 6. Define your enough number before lifestyle creep defines it for you. Here is a fact that should stop you cold. More than half of wealthy Americans reported feeling financially stressed in 2025, despite having average assets of $1.6 million. Wealthy people stressed about money. Why? Because they never defined what enough looked like. Their expenses expanded every time their income did, and the finish line kept moving. Lifestyle creep is automatic. It requires no decision. You earn more, you spend more, the new level becomes normal and you need more again. The only way to break this cycle is to consciously decide in advance what enough looks like for you. What size home is actually sufficient? What car genuinely meets your needs? What level of comfort constitutes a good life? Once you define that number and stop at it, every dollar above it goes directly to building wealth instead of inflating a lifestyle that will demand even more next year. This one decision is the difference between people who earn a lot and have nothing to show for it, and people who earn the same and retire with real money. Habit 7. Invest the money you stop spending immediately and automatically. This is the habit that connects everything else together, and almost nobody does it correctly. When you cut a subscription, that money needs to go somewhere specific before the next month, or your spending finds a new way to absorb it. When you skip an upgrade, the money you didn't spend needs to be redirected intentionally, or it vanishes into general spending. When the 24-hour rule saves you $400 on an impulse purchase, that $400 needs to move to an investment account the same day, or it disappears by Friday. The average American made their first investment at 27 years old, and 80% of all Americans wish they had started earlier. The gap between wishing and doing is always the same thing. There was no automatic system moving the money before life got to it first. Every habit on this list saves money, but saved money sitting in a checking account is not wealth building. It is just delayed spending. The habit that makes all the others actually matter is the one that takes what you didn't spend and puts it to work somewhere. It compounds quietly over years until the numbers become genuinely life-changing. None of these 7 habits requires a high income. None of them require financial expertise. 80% of Americans wish they had started investing earlier. IPX1031. The habits they wish they had built earlier are exactly these. Automate first. Stop upgrading things that work. Wait before buying. Track the real number. Cut what you forgot you had. Define enough. Invest what you save immediately. Simple, quiet, and over time, completely transformative.